How did your friendship with Raven come about then?
Oh, love him to death. Love him with all my heart, and probably no one in the wrestling business helped me, gave me more than Raven. And I try to always preface everything I say with that because I don't feel like there's anything I could ever do moving forward or in the past to repay him for those things. I met Raven at a bar in Atlanta. I was with Johnny Green, who was a wrestler at WCW at the Power Plant. His wrestling name was Johnny Attitude. He did some of the Saturday night shows, and Johnny passed away a couple years ago. But Raven had just come down from ECW when I'd started the Power Plant. He hadn't been on TV but for a couple of weeks. And we were in a bar, and Johnny said, "Hey, there's Raven. Let's go say hello." And I was not an ECW fan. Even though I was a wrestler, I didn't get into it. I didn't follow it. I didn't want to learn about it. And I said, I don't know him. I don't want to bug him. If you want to go say hello, I'll just stay here. And so Johnny walks off. He comes back in 30 seconds or a minute. He goes, "Hey, you need to go say hello to Raven." I'm like, "Bro, I already told you, I don't know him." He goes, "No, he wants to meet you."
Okay.
He wants to meet. Why does he want to meet me? I mean, I had just started the Power Play, just been through the trial. I mean, I don't think I've been in Atlanta a month. And he goes, "No, I told him you were a personal trainer and all these bodybuilders you trained. He's looking to hire a personal trainer." So I went over, and Raven's like, "So tell me what you've done." And I just started rattling some things off, and he said, "Oh, so you're at the Power Plant?" "Yeah." And that was basically it. He looks at me and goes, "All right." He said, took out a pen and paper. He wrote it, and he goes, "Here's my address. Come pick me up tomorrow at 12 o'clock and we'll go to the gym." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "I just hired you as my personal trainer. Let's do a shot." And I'm like, "I'm not even, what are you talking about? I don't even drink." And at this point, and he's like, "No, we're going to have a shot. You're my new personal trainer." I'm like, "I don't think being your personal trainer drinking with you is a really good idea." But so, long story sped up in short, I started training him, and within 2 weeks, he offered me a job as his personal assistant. He said, "You're too good to just be my personal trainer when I'm out of town. Would you mind picking up my dry clean, whatever? I'll pay you X amount a week." And I just sold my personal training studio. So I wasn't working other than doing indie shows on the weekends. And he hired me as his personal assistant, which meant I went over and woke him up every morning, cooked his breakfast, took him to the gym. We trained. And 3 months later or so, we were sitting in a bar one night. It was a Thursday night. And he said, "Man, back then, WCW wasn't doing a lot of house shows. They had Monday Night Nitro, they had the pay-per-view, but the weekends, Raven was home." Well, he was home in Atlanta, but I was wrestling every weekend back in the Carolinas, so I was on the road. I was doing indie shows on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And he's sitting there, and Stevie had just gotten hurt. Richards had just gotten hurt. And he said, "Man, I sure do wish you were on TV with me." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." It was like 11:30, and we're sitting in a bar in Atlanta, and he gets on the phone. He calls Terry Taylor, who was the booker. And Terry had known me from the Power Plant. I'd done a couple of jobs down at the WCW at the TV tapings we did down in Florida. And he said, "Hey, do you know Brad Cain from the Power Plant?" Blah, blah, blah. "Hey, how about if I put him in the flock on Monday at Nitro?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." "Okay. Well, thanks anyway." "All right, cool." And he hangs up, and I'm like, "Well, that didn't go too well." I guess he said no to Nitro. He said no to Nitro because we got a pay-per-view Sunday. You're starting at the Palace Auburn Hills in Detroit on Sunday. And I'm like, It's
Wow.
Thursday night at 11:30, Ben. And he's telling me I'm starting at the pay-per-view on Sunday, and I've got dark hair. And he looks at me and goes, "You don't really look like a star. Go dye your hair blonde and get you some black leather pants. Let's make you Billy Idol." So I spent all day Friday running around Atlanta, getting some black leather pants, the boots, the chains, the glove, the whole 9 yards. Had my hair dyed 3 times because it went from dark to blonde, fried my scalp, and caught an 8 o'clock flight out on Saturday morning to go to Detroit to be there for the pay-per-view. And everybody saw my debut that night. I think that's the night we beat Riggs up and carried Riggs off, put Riggs in the flock. And from there on, there was the Lodi Monster.